Доброго дня.
Good afternoon. We continue our work today. This is our last briefing, but this is an unusual one because this is a small workshop. And our main topic is what business in the south of Ukraine is connected with the aggressor country, search for Russian business in Ukrainian and foreign registers. And we have with us Veronika Boyko, head of the social direction of the PR department of YouControl, an IT company that creates solutions based on open data. Veronika, can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. And as it has been mentioned by our moderator, my name is Veronika Boyko, and our company was established in 2014. And since that time, it has been developing solutions based on the open data. Now we are facing new challenges. And that's why now our tool can be used not only by journalists for investigations to identify corruption cases, and for the business to check their partners before signing the contract, but now it can be also used to approximate our victory, because open data is now the new tool, which allows to find the Russian assets, collaborators, separatists, etc. And open data allow us not only to identify these assets, but to freeze them, and for us to find Russian businesses or businesses related to the aggressor country, to impose sanctions on them. Just before actually starting our press conference, I would like to say that Veronika will show some data sharing her screen, and we have around 40 minutes with our Zoom subscription, but if it's not enough, we will just reopen our Zoom meeting. The record of this event will be published on our YouTube channel, so those who are not present here today or not online with us will be able to get access to this record later. I'll just want to check if I can share my screen, but I have no rights for this so far. Let's start discussing the Russian business. It's about 8 or even 9 months of war, but the Russian business continues work on our land. And still our business, some of our businesses have connections with the Russian businesses. And I can provide you statistics. Will I be able to ask the questions? And will I be heard by the floor, or will journalists be able to hear me? Can you check if you can share the screen now? Because I think the option is on. Yes, I can do this. And I have the first questions. There are still missiles, Russian missiles over Ukraine, but we still have Russian businesses as the part of Ukrainian businesses, like beneficiaries or like stakeholders. Do you remember the number from our research and from other research of other stakeholders? So do you remember an approximate number of such businesses in Ukraine still related to Russia? I can actually try to answer, representing everyone here in the room and saying that we do not remember the exact number. So I will start sharing my screen now. And I can show you that there is around 21,000 of such companies. These are Ukrainian legal entities where we can see the trace of Russia. There can be several options. The first option is when the name of the company actually hints that there is the Russian trace there. For example, we have the farmer company which is called Russia, which was founded in 2012, but the name is still unchanged. The second option is when we have the beneficiary, which is the Russian company, that is the company registered on the territory of the Russian Federation. And the third option is when the entity is registered there on the territory of Russia. And one more option with big holdings. And if you remember, there was the study of how many companies have left the territory of Russia. And there were around 1,000 of such brands, and the situation was, some of them is still unclear. Some of them really stopped cooperating or working in Russia, but some of them are still there. For example, if the Ukrainian legal entity is the part of big international holding that still has representatives from Russian Federation, then we say that this company also has connections with Russia. And some other cases when there are company or businesses that still operate under the Russian law. We also provide information about such cases. So the cases can be different, not only beneficiaries from the Russian Federation or some daughter companies from Russia Federation, etc. So, and we have revealed more than 17,000 companies like this. Moreover, we should not speak only about the Russian companies or Russian businesses here. They are the countries that support the Russia's aggression on the territory of Ukraine. So these are the companies that still have connections with Belarus and Iran. And there are more than 3,600 of such companies in Ukraine when it comes to Belarus, and more than 800 companies that have connections with Iran. And where have we taken this information? We have a range of studies where we try to explore how many companies we have in Ukraine, the companies with this nature. And this is the 9th month of war now. And the data from May showed that some of the companies continued cooperating with Russian, and there were the Russian companies that were not under the sanctions, and the assets were not frozen back then. But we can see that the state has started taking action, so this is a slow mechanism, but still there are some developments. That's why our job as of journalists is very important here. It is very important for us to identify the cases, the scandalous cases, and I believe that part of the companies on the list are not operative anymore. So these companies can exist for over 7 years, but there is no actual activities. That's why for us the main focus is the companies that have some activities here, that get profit, and that profit can be further on transferred to a beneficiary in the Russian Federation, and thus finance the war in Ukraine. So this is like a closed circuit here, and to avoid such situations, it is very important for us to cover such cases. The next slide provides more details, and I would like to say that we have not only analyzed the Russian trace in Ukrainian companies, but we also wanted to discover the companies that participate in Ukrainian bidding. There are such companies. This is around 191 Ukrainian companies that are related to Russia or the Republic of Belarus. And the general amount of tenders were around 1 billion of hryvnias, so the tenders that were won by such companies. And now, a bit of positive information. After this scandalous study that was published by different media, our government took interest in the situation, and this is the conclusion as of 12th of October. The government banned the participation and bidding of the companies from Russia and Belarus. So that's why after that we conducted one more survey, and there are still some Ukrainian companies that belong to large holding, which still has daughter companies and branches on the territory of the Russian Federation. And still, there are some companies that have direct beneficiaries in the Russian Federation. We have already published this survey. That's why you can find information already in media and on our website. And I would like to emphasize that our website has a separate section which is called investigations. That's why if you are interested in some specific information about an individual region, for example, Odessa Oblast or the city of Odessa or Mariupol, you can just address me or my colleagues saying that here is your survey. Can you please provide the statistics with regard to a region of interest? We are always trying to provide such information. The only exception is when we need to download huge sets of data. But if we have already downloaded this data, this is not a problem for us to provide you kind of a brief information. So if you need to find information about the companies that still have Russian components or the connections of Ukrainian companies with Belarus or Iran, you can always address YouControl, and we will be happy to help you. And now let's get closer to the south of Ukraine. And the situation is as follows. In Odessa, the number of companies is the biggest. The companies that have this Russian component, the next is Zaporizhzhia, then Mykolaiv, and then Kherson. So, and not only Mykolaiv, but Mykolaiv Oblast, Kherson Oblast, this is to be more precise. You can also address me or my colleagues, and we will provide you the information about a specific oblast. And some of the journalists have already addressed us to be able to analyze their oblasts to find the largest companies or the companies with the biggest profit, etc. Veronika, I would like just to remind that we also addressed you and you provided to us data about the south of Ukraine. We have this Excel table, and we will provide this to our journalists after this briefing or workshop. Thank you very much. And I would also ask to send this file to those journalists who are really interested in this, those who have been conducting a certain survey, because in May we provided this data to our law enforcement bodies for them to investigate the cases, to help confiscate the assets, because disclosure is not the only our objective. It is important to freeze these assets and to transfer these assets to the budget of our state. So please do not public openly this file. Please analyze this and provide the analyzed information, and just provide conclusion to your audience. Journalists ask if they can ask questions now or after the presentation. Yes, they can. Igor Karpechenko, Topor Internet Media. Do you have the information with regard to the sectors of economy? Yes. I'll stop sharing my screen now. I'll stop sharing my presentation now to show you our website, to demonstrate our survey there. Because there we provide information by sectors, industrial sectors, the type of activities. So we have the section of news on our website, and there you can find the investigation section. We have analyzed the data several times, and the data have been updated. The first survey mentioned 17,000 companies. After other iterations, we found that we have more than 21,000 of such companies. Trying to find the information. About types, activities, or industrial sectors. Just need a moment. Or I'm not just connected to the investigation sector. So we can go back to the news. While I'm trying to find the survey, I'd like to say that we have a different format of this data. For example, we have the news about the Ukrainian companies have businesses in Russia. There are around 270 of such companies. So perhaps you know that the access to the Russian register is open, so we can analyze data from that side. So you can see the news, 14,000 companies having related to the Russian Federation, the companies related to Belarus, and together there are 17,000 companies. But the number is bigger now because we have had several iterations of the survey. And this survey is based on 2020, because our taxation service has not published yet the information about the profits during 2021. And you can see that the company B&K Ukraine is on the first place in terms of the profit. And I think that there should be somewhere information about the types of activities. This is the official comment. No, unfortunately, now I cannot find this information. But if you want, after this event, I will try to find the information about the types of activities. I do know for sure that we have information about the companies related to Iran and their types of activities. We were not the only one who conducted the analysis, so the data are somewhat there. I can use the example of Iran to show you the types of activities, and then we will continue and speak about tenders. And the survey about Iranian business is rather fresh, and I would like to say that we have analyzed not only Iranian business, but the businesses from other partner countries, which support the Russian Federation, that vote in the UN for Russia's aggression. And we find information about 2020 that the companies from Iran generated around 350 million of net profit. And we have analyzed the types of activities. The most companies are located in Kyiv, and Kharkiv is the runner-up, and Odessa Oblast is on the third place. And Kyiv Oblast, Dnipropetrovska Oblast, all where these companies are concentrated the most. So this is not a specialized bulk trade. Do you know what this type of activities mean? They are risky. These are risky activities because you never know for sure what is the occupation of the company. When they speak about bulk trade, this can be anything. And the specific law enforcement bodies can mark such companies as risky. On the second place, construction, then restaurant business, and computer programming. And I would like to remind that this is information about the companies related to Iran or Iranian businesses. And there's some other types of activities, for example, the bulk trade in grains. And we can also find such information in relation to the Russian Federation. And I have not prepared the information about types of activities for this training. So let's get back to our presentation. I've already provided you the information with regard to the oblasts, and Odessa oblasts have the most companies related to the Russian Federation. And now I have a question to you. How do you think, what is the biggest 1,000 company related to the Russian Federation? And this is not a secret. And 11 billions of hryvnias, that is the profit for 2020. And this company is quite known, and it is quite scandalous. So, do you know the company? How do you think? I can say that this is the company, DTEK, the electricity company. No. And this company is more related to the electricity, but this company is more related to the defense sector. And it was on the news quite recently. And the director, this is Motor Sich. Yes, this is Motor Sich, you're right. The profit for 2020 is 11 billion hryvnias. This year, it's even more. 13, if I'm not mistaken. But even before the researches that were conducted in the premises of the director of the company, YouControl already published the information about one case, because that was quite a scandalous company when it comes to the express analysis. And actually, we tried to bring attention to the company. So let's start from Motor Sich. So I now YouControl, and you can use the search engine on our website. You can just fill in the box with the name of the company and what we can find here. So this is the part of the group of companies, Motor Sich, and we have analyzed all the Ukrainian companies in terms of the belonging to specific groups. So if we have around 1,500 financial and industrial groups in Ukraine, and we have the group of the family of Boguslav and the separate group of Motor Sich. So we can click here to find the information. So this is the son of the MP, and these are the types of activities, financial services, and also the group also has some properties. This person is also an MP, and there was the banking group, which was called Motor Bank. So this is the son, and this is the father. He is also the member of the MP, and both of them are presidents of the company, Motor Sich. What else we can find here? We can get to the information about motor switch in general. We have the information about key persons in the group. And the group can have around 5 or 50 companies, or it can be a family business. And you know how it is organized in Ukraine with MPs, when MP can manage the company through their children or wives. We can find information about technical director of Motor Switch, the son of technical director, the director on the social development, and Motor Switch provide the services of the development, repairs, etc. So where is the Russian trace here? In 2019, there was the investigation about aircraft halting and the share package. We also have the information about markings here, marking in terms of the relation to the aggressor country. We have an express analysis here, and here the system analyzes by itself the risk of the Russian trace using around 500 vectors in our case. There are sanctions which are related to this economic operator. We can see that the founders are in offshore, Panama, Virgin Islands, etc. Court decisions and the number of these decisions and rulings, and the beneficiary, the final beneficiary, is involved with the legal entity registered in the Russian Federation. We have Aver Repairs and Boris Vena Avia. This information has not been updated yet. The situation can be different now. Perhaps they have deleted some information. But that was a long time existing trace. What can we also see here? We can unfold any vector that we have on the website. Why is it important for us? Why we should pay attention to it? Our lawyer has provided recommendation to you in terms of threats and risks. We can see that there were offshore operations and transactions. There are a lot of legal proceedings. For example, there were crimes against property. And you can click on all the rows to get more details. So this is not only some general information provided, like related to a specific person or the companies and offshore. We can also click here to find information about, for example, the final beneficiary, who is from the Chinese People's Republic. So you can all the time you can get more details for further analysis and also to find the sanction lists to which this company can belong. There is also information about mentioning in the media.
Оборонна компанія України, та? То ми тут бачимо розслідування і наше.
We can also see the surveys that were conducted by different organizations like Nashi Groshi or Izberkom from Odessa, all the journalist investigations related to the Motor Switch company. As for the foreign economic activity, we can find more details about offshore jurisdictions and the supplies that have taken place. Waiting for the information to be displayed on the screen. Can you hear me well? Are there any delays? Yes, we can hear you well. We have not fallen asleep here, but we are waiting for the information about the practical tool that we discussed with you, ROSAS. I'm not planning to focus a lot on this tool, but I can show you one case, because this tool is more related to researching companies abroad. If you want to find the information about Ukrainian companies, there's no point to search for this in this tool, because this is more about foreign companies. I will show you how this tool operates, because if you need to conduct a global investigation, of course, you will need this tool to understand what certain oligarch has abroad. Here you can see the information about offshores in Iran, Hong Kong, Moldova, Morocco, Panama, with relation to Motor Switch. And Russia is also there. And there were transactions in 2020. So what they exported there? We have to scroll down, and we'll find information about different types of engines and turbines, centrifuges, transmissions, etc. And here you can also see the amount of money they earned from this export.
Деякі не визначені чомусь. Тому що це контрагенти, а нас цікавлять.
So this is information about counteragents, but we also need the information about countries. You can also find the countries here: Hong Kong, Tajikistan, Bosnia, and here we can find the information about the Russian Federation that was at the rate of 3%. And in 2020, this level was also at 3%. So in 2020, they still cooperated with the Russian Federation and sold their products there. So here you also can find information about foreign economic activities, not only information about sanctions and the type of activities. And Motor Switch is on the first place. So who is the runner-up here? We analyzed a lot of factors on relations to Russia, Belarus, Iran, and other Russia's allies like Cuba, Syria. So we have already added this information to the Express Analysis tool that you can find on the website. And this makes it quite simple to find the information about the company. And you will get the marking or the label at once with regard to the relation to Russia. So the runner-up is Sandora. Why Sandora? And you see, there is no labeling anymore that the company has Russian trace, because the company is Ukrainian, and there is no relation to the Russian Federation in terms of having beneficiaries in their management. But there is a different type of connection. In this Express Analysis, we can find the information that the Ukrainian company belongs to the holding PepsiCo, which is the mother company, that has not stopped its operations on the Russian territory. They have some limitations there, or they stopped marketing campaigns there, but they still supply products there, and they still continue producing their goods there. So not the Ukrainian company Sandora, which is related to Russia, but Sandora is the part of the holding which continues its operations on the Russian territory. This is the runner-up. And Motor Switch is from the Zaporizhzhia Oblast. I can also show you where you can find information about the registration address. You just need to scroll down. Information is still uploading, so let's get to Sandora first. Sandora is established in the Mykolaiv Oblast. So here you can see the information about the biggest companies related to Russia in different Ukrainian oblasts. And together with Mikhailo, we have defined 4 oblasts: Zaporizhia, Odessa, Mykolaiv, and Kherson oblasts. And this is the biggest company in the Mykolaiv Oblast. Motor Sich is from Zaporizhia Oblast. The next is a very interesting company, which is a daughter company. This is the container terminal, Odessa, from the HLA International GmbH. But you know that this is a German company. If you see the labeling GmbH in Ukrainian or in English, but it's usually in English, then it means that the company is established in Germany or Austria. The situation here is similar to the previous company. So we have the company which belongs to a large holding, which is related to the Russian Federation. So you can see here Germany. This is one of the terminals in the Odessa Sea Trade Port, if not mistaken. And you can see that the Ukrainian company belongs to the holding, which still works with the Russian Federation and under the Russian law. And this is quite interesting. And a bit later, I will show you our tool, ROSES, and when we see such marking, we can copy it. We get to our tool, ROSES, another tool about international companies. So we have here the information about companies from 25 countries, and we are working on increasing the information about other companies. So actually, all the functions are presented here in English. I have translated into Ukrainian for you. But I will show you this tool a bit later. Now, I would like to bring your attention to those companies who have the biggest revenue. And let's look at the revenue of this terminal, the daughter company. And here we can go to the financial section. And I will show you the relevant box here to find information about the company's revenue. So I have delays in with the internet. Usually there are no problems with the internet connection here in Berlin, where I am now. Oh, I need to go through additional authentication. That was a funny situation with the state taxation service of Ukraine, not taxation service, but statistics service. The service has published the information for 2021, but then deleted this information for some of the companies, around 100,000 companies. But we still have this information because this is like open data, and there are no restrictions in terms of the publishing this information.
Наприклад, вниз наших звітів.
So we can scroll down our reports, and here we can find information about the net revenue from sales or work. So these are 1,000 hryvnias. So in Southern hryvnia, so this is 1 billion for the current year and a bit less than 1 billion for the last year. So these are the money earned by the daughter company, which has certain relation to the Russian Federation. And this is as for Odessa Oblast. And now about the Kherson Oblast. Do you know something about the company Freedom Farm International? Perhaps if we had someone from Kherson, they would have provided some information about this company. And we have one of the Kherson journalists online, but we are not in contact with him now. These are Tsingali brothers, and I think you know about this. And they former owners of Nedra Bank. So these Tsingali brothers are still here. And you see, there is no marking that there is a relation to the Russian Federation. Why is it so? Because they had one beneficiary from Russia, but they have already taken away this beneficiary. But they are quite interesting anyway, because these brothers have a lot of land plots, around 3,000, in the Kherson Oblast. So all these land plots are from the Kherson Oblast, and there are some huge acres of land that they own. And you can find quite interesting information about these brothers too. Vadim Segal is the citizen from the United States residing in the Russian Federation. And I think that this information was taken from mass media, because we don't have the official information. We can see the Ukrainian or American registration, but the mass media say that he resides in Russia. Then we have Anastasia Kunitsina, who is a beneficiary of this holding. She is also a Russian citizen residing in Geneva, Switzerland. There is the second brother, who is the head of the board of this Freedom Farm International, who is the U.S. resident residing in Russia. And you remember there was the scandal related to the Nedra Bank, and they were suspected that they took a lot of money of the investors of their bank in different country. But the court proceedings are still ongoing. This is up for the court to make the ruling. What is interesting for us here? We have the information about property here, but the information about property objects are blurred now due to the martial law. We cannot now publish this information. We can just provide the information about general ownership in the oblast. They have a lot of motor cars, a lot of vehicles, so of course if they have so many land plots, this is not a surprise. And in the dossier of the company, we can check the types, or the activity types of this Freedom Farm company. And what it is occupied with the cultivation of green crops. You can find information about the charter capital, their finances, etc. And as you see, to find the Russian trace here, you need to go to the history of the company. And this is the Kherson Oblast. I have selected 4 largest companies in terms of the revenue for 2020 in different oblasts to show you our tool. I will try to reload the website to get the information about the background or history of the company to find the Russian trace. We see no significant changes in the address of the company or the name of the company. There were small amendments to the address. The managers changed, but quite a long time ago. And what about beneficiaries? We can see here Cyprus, the United States, the beneficiaries from these countries. You see, we have beneficiaries even from the United States. But there is no wonder in this, no surprise. So let's try to find the person of our interest. we can see the list of founders: Sagal Ilya, Sagal Vadim, Sagal Marina. Marina resides in Israel now, but Marina is not of our interest. We are interested in another person. We have Andriy Agaev, who is from Cyprus. You see, they just deleted this information about the beneficiaries that were related to the Russian Federation. And I can see that every half year they change their beneficiaries. Yes, they update this information, but I don't see Russia here anymore because before there was the information about Russia. So you can see that there is their trick. Then perhaps I need to check the uploaded data that I have prepared for you. Okay, I will try to find it here. We can just use Control F combination. Yes, here, the Russian Federation. No, this is Kunitsina, but this is for 2018. But then the information was changed. But this is not the only hit that we have here. We have again Kunitsina. So this is the relation to Russia, the Russian trace here. Perhaps we still need to wait for all the information to upload. Yeah, I can see it. So you can see we still see the information only about Kunitsina. So, but we need to be really very attentive here to see everything. So Israel, Ukraine, the United States. So we need to renew our Zoom session. And just in several seconds, you'll get the new link to continue. Then just to finalize this block, I would like to say that we've just checked the cases when a Russian company is related somehow to a Ukrainian company. So we saw 4 companies in different oblasts, in different regions, the largest in terms of revenue: Odessa, Kherson, Zaporizhia, and Mykolaiv oblasts. And then I will show you 2 more options, variants of this connection. Yes, we can hear you. So I've just checked information about this Tsegal brothers to find the Russian relation, and I could check the information that we uploaded previously. And Agaev who is allegedly from Cyprus. So the information about Ageyev is Russia, Cyprus, and you will find similar entries in the system. So the first is his citizenship, Russian, and the second is registration, place of registration. This is Cyprus. So this means that Ageyev is Russian citizen and he is registered in Cyprus. So we could find this information when he was beneficiary, but now the company has deleted this information about him. Can you see my screen now? Yes, we can see an Excel table. So no, you should see something different. I will just open another page for you. This is one more option. We have the information about bankruptcy, but this is one more example of how a company can be related to Russia. Everything's quite simple here, but you should dig deeper. We can see the joint Ukraine-Russia company, the limited liability company terminal. Here, the charter capital is only 2 hryvnias, and the name of counterparty is from the related to Russia. So from legal point of view, you cannot say for sure that there are some Russian beneficiaries, but logic can give you some hints. So you need to just check why they have decided to name their farm Russia. Maybe they were established during the USSR and decided not to change their name. But the situation can be like we have now, because there is beneficiary from Moscow which is registered in the Russian Federation. What else can we find here? We can find the information about the CEO, Valery Yordik. If you are in Odessa and if you know something about Odessa, you've heard about this person. But he decided to conceal some of the information because Valery Yordik should be spelled differently to find his other assets. So one means that he has only one asset. There is only one entry about owning of this Ukraine-Russia enterprise that I've already mentioned. But if we check the physical entity and change one letter, so this is Odessa, this is the company, but we can Yurdik spell as Yurdik. Instead of Y, instead of I, Y, the Ukrainian style. We can say that perhaps that this is one and the same person, but in this case I have no doubts that this is the same person, because Yurdik is like Yurdik, also from Odessa, and we have a different asset here. Consortium, UVIX, Odessa Oblast. And he's like a historical participant. The legal company, RS Legal Consulting. But he also was a beneficiary in the history. We can also check the information in mass media about him. And we can learn that he was an oligarch or some large businessman from Odessa. As for the property, we can see 5 objects, 2 land plots and 4 real estate objects. And there was the information in mass media that his son was kidnapped at some time. And he is also mentioned as Odessa businessman. He is one of the founders of Syntezor company. That was the early 2000s. And if I'm not mistaken, Syntez Oil, this is the former refinery Lukoil, who was then owned by Kolomoisky, and now these premises, the company is arrested. So look at the case. We have three companies that this person seems not to be related to. But if we change only one letter, we will find another person from the Odessa Oblast. And I can't find now this page, but anyway, we can find the different companies belonging to this person. So they can just change the director or try to change the spelling of their last name for us to make it more difficult to find the Russian relation. And the last case I would like to show you today, this is the relation to Belarus. We have the company Donbas Naftoprodukt, and these are petrol stations, if I'm not mistaken. We have the beneficiary, the counterpart, which is the citizens of the Republic of Belarus, through the company of Agrokabel. And there are some criminal proceedings here. And this entity deals with the retail sales of fuel. We have the share capital amounting to 17 millions, and the company is established in the Zaporizhzhia Oblast. And to find the Belarus trace, we need to get to this company, TOV Agrokabel. We can see the marking Belarus relation, Belarus connection. And we can also find this information from Express Analysis. So you see, I use it all the time because it is very convenient. And we have Ludmila Kadynova from Donetska Oblast, who is the founder or beneficiary. And the second beneficiary is Andriy Prokofiev, who is now in Kiev, but his citizenship is also Belarus. So what is my point here? I want to explain that you need to dig deeper to find all the details. This is not enough to check if there is a Belarus or Russian marking, just to make the hot news that the company has a Belarus trace for more than 20 years. Now, you need to click on this entry to find the information about beneficiaries. So one beneficiary is from Donetsk, and another person is a Belarus citizen, but he resides now in Kiev. And perhaps there is no risk or threat here, because we know that Belarus citizens fight here in Ukraine on the Ukrainian side. So this is how you should work with the open data. This is all for this part. And now I want to say that not only Russian companies are hiding, the companies with Russian trace, our state also hides some information from us. So we have some kind of active campaigns to open data, as we had before the full-scale invasion, because it is very important for us to have public access to to declarations and also to have the information about the single state registered for every person to be able to protect themselves from the enemy. And to check this information, we should not only have access to the single state register, but also to historical information. For example, to find information about the relation of the company to the Russian Federation, to check the connections with Russia. We believe that the financial impact on such companies is as important as weapons supplied to Ukraine. All of us are responsible for checking the entities or persons we cooperate with. We never know what products we buy. And you know, that was the scandal with the Ocean Plaza shopping mall. But then it was found out that the owners are the daughters of Arkady Rotenberg. And this is one of the biggest shopping malls in Kiev. And I don't want to buy from them anymore because we don't want to finance the Russia's aggression. So all of us are responsible for checking this information. And thus we can stimulate our state to provide public access to the register. So, and it's very important to understand that when there is no access to public register, they do not close, so to say, the eyes of the Russian Federation because in the Russian Federation they have already uploaded everything they wanted, but they close our eyes and we cannot check this information anymore. We cannot control whom we cooperate with, from whom we buy the products and other things. And this is very important to find this information. And you see how many data are concealed now. That's why we have started the awareness-raising campaign to have the open access to such data as we had before. And this is very important for different sectors, banking sector, legal sector, etc. Thank you. So people ask here when we are going to finalize our workshop. Can you say a few words about ROSS tool? Because when it comes to the open data, and quite soon you can find that a lot of is hidden in offshores.
Щось пов'язане нібито тільки з південним регіоном України та Росією.
Так, звичайно. Ось тут
Yes, of course, this is also important. And here on the screen, you can find some summary that we have added around 25 companies to this platform. Secondly, we keep updating the lists all the time, because as soon as we get information about the company added to the sanction list, we immediately upload this information to the tool. And in general, this is around 2 million public figures in this ROSS system from Russia, Belarus, Ukraine, and Kazakhstan. What is meant here? It means that you will be able to find the connection between an Italian company and a Russian citizen, if there is a connection there. It can be through offshores or some other companies or some other persons. So there are different options, but you will be able to trace this connection through several persons or entities. So let's check how it works. And you can see that the system is in English, as I've already mentioned, and here I can make an inquiry, the same principle as in YouControl. And here we can see two cards. We can open them to check the information there. So we see some standard information, like the country is Germany, the source of data, the date of registry, and we can see now the status removed, so the information was removed from the platform. Currently registered, so it still exists with the same name. Perhaps they re-registered the company. And in the founders, in members, we can find 7 persons, and we can check the information about these persons. So we have different German names, but sometimes on the list we can find the names that resemble Russian names. This is not the case. I can just show you an example. And for this, I will switch now to the old design. And this is more convenient for me. We have 2 options for design of the system. There is a company which is named Rotax. GmbH. So this means that this is established in Germany or Austria. And you see that there are around 48 hits in the system with the name Rotax. On the left, we have different sources, and I can filter the sources. For example, here I can find a hit in the Austrian business register, in the Swiss business register, and some Russian PEP. PEP, this is politically exposed person, so this means that this is a public figure. And I can see the first item. I can click here. I can see that the company is in Germany, and among the owners, I can find the company, which is an offshore company. But apart from the Palmoto, which is an offshore, who is a co-founder, we can also find who owned the company before, because we see here also the end date. We have Lilia Rothenberg here. Lilia Rothenberg is a daughter of the well-known oligarch Arkady Rothenberg. And to find this connection with Rothenberg, we just had to click once. We compiled information from different sources, and that's why it is quite easy for you to find the information like this. For example, this entity is located also in Berlin. So we have here the database of Russian managers and the database of those involved in Russia propaganda, the database of the largest businessmen according to Forbes rating. And thanks to compiling the information from different databases and different sources, we can trace and track the connections. So we can click on Lilia Rothenberg, and we can find the information about date of birth. She is registered in 2 countries, Russia and Germany, and his father is Rothenberg Arkady, the oligarch that I've already mentioned. We can also click on him to find the information about this person, the countries of residence, the city of birth, which is St. Petersburg. So here you can find the whole bulk of information, how the spelling, the different spelling of his name. And the problem of such tools, of such services, is that the names are spelled differently. So the same person can have around 20 types of spellings, which makes our search more difficult. So please don't forget about this. But in YouControl, we tried to correct this. And we have the tab which is called similar. And in this tab, you can find the variants like Arkady with 2y, Y's with 1y, different types of spelling. And every spelling is additional source. Like we can have the source, which is the database from Russia, the Grule, or can be also Forbes, and some information about Rothenberg from Forbes. Let's try to search for Arkady Rothenberg. And we can find at once the information about consolidated sanctions, and we can see all sanctioned lists. Of course, it is related to Ukraine, the European Union. So the sanctions from the government of a European country. And we have other sources like United States, etc. So thus, we can find the information about different sources, and also the information about the sanctions in force and the assets of the person. This person has a lot of such assets. We can check the source once again. Click on PEP, publicly exposed person, and here we have the information about only about the members of families. We can also check the Panama Papers. We also added the list from the Panama Papers. Here we can also check assets. We can see like 3 assets, and we can dig deeper dive into this. The Austrian register, we can also find information about Austrian register, and we can see 2 assets in Austria, Premium Holding and Real Invest Holding. And you can imagine how many assets Rothenberg has, and it can take the whole day to check all of them. And these assets are not under sanctions still. That's why it is also very important to check this information. Thank you very much. Veronika, can you hear me? Great, because I can't see myself. I would like to thank you a lot for your presentation. And I will provide to the journalists the uploaded information that you prepared for us. Thanks for noting that this is not a public domain, so we will not public this openly, and we also ask about this our journalists. Thank you very much for your presentation, for the workshop, and I hope that more journalists will be able to watch the record of this workshop to understand how to properly use the open data that you administer through your services. And journalists can use this information for their investigations and for their reports. I would like to show you the last slide in my presentation. If you need access to YouControl or ROSAS, if you are interested in this, you can just scan this QR code or contact me through the email and to ask to provide the access. We provide access to journalists and activists free of charge, but of course we need to check you because we have war, and we should make sure that you work for the Ukrainian victory. Thank you. This will be one additional check in addition to the one provided by the security service and other law enforcement bodies. Thank you very much for your presentation. We hope to see you personally in our media center. I would like to thank everyone who joined us today. See you later. Thank you, dear colleagues.